Welcome, Formula One fans. It is Saturday. Yes, Saturday. And we have our first race of the Formula One season for 2024. And lots of interesting things happened, of course, over the break. Some we've talked about. And in fact, most we've talked about, but there has been some updates. But first, let's go ahead and welcome our sponsors. F1NH, a small data center in Austin, Texas, have been with us from the beginning. In fact, all of our sponsors have. If you have anything that requires technology needs, whether it be co-location, a private cloud, disaster recovery, public cloud, storage, please give the folks at F1NH a chance to earn your business. You can do that by going to f1NH.com. That is f1NH.com. And then, of course, we have Moms for Liberty. As I've said many times, probably my favorite sponsor and one of my favorite companies, because they're out there doing all they can to help you. That's right, you, the parents out there of all the young children, and they're out there trying to get you more involved, get involved in the school boards, get involved in your kids' education, and try and get all of this focus that we have on things that are not going to do them any good at all when they get out of school or college, and refocus back on science and technology, mathematics, English, the things that will really benefit them when they get out into the real world. So please go to momsforliberty.org. That's momsforliberty.org. Join one of their nearly 300 chapters, or maybe start a chapter yourself. But please get involved, and that's momsforliberty.org. And of course, Give, Send, Go. You have a choice in how you want to conduct your life, and things that happen to you in life you have no choice in. And so when something goes wrong, you want to choose somebody that's going to help you, no matter what your preferences are, what your politics are. In other words, you want to be able to get help without censorship and stuff like that. And of course, Give, Send, Go is the place to go. Yeah, that's right. When you need help, and by the way, it's not just when things go bad and you find yourself in need of money, or you want to help a friend, or maybe somebody you don't know, but you can also raise money to start a new business. Lots of paperwork involved, but I'm sure it's all worth it at the end. But please go to givesendgo.com. That's givesendgo.com. And going forward, starting this race, we are going to have a public service announcement. For those of you that don't know, we did a wonderful interview with Sir Jackie Stewart in the off-season. Please go check it out on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. But Jackie Stewart has started an organization called Race Against Dementia. You can go check that out on our website, and go to raceagainstdementia.com and check it out, donate. Jackie Stewart has unfortunately encountered dementia in his own family, which is the reason for starting this organization. Like many of us have. Many of us, my mother-in-law is suffering from dementia, and in fact 1 in 3. So please go out and help the folks at Race Against Dementia try and end this horrible disease. All right, so let's get back to the race, which is about to start in about 5 minutes. But first, I want to address some of the off-season stuff, and in particular, what happened to Christian Horner. The mainstream, I'll call them mainstream Formula One news outlets, of course, when it came about that Christian was being investigated for inappropriate action or with whoever. Nobody knew anything about it. There's only really a few people that knew anything about it. That's Christian, the person that made the accusation, and of course the law firm that Red Bull assigned to investigate. And many people out there, many news outlets were calling Christian, you should resign, you should get out, you're a bad person, go away. And of course, I got on in one of my podcasts and I said, guys, we've got to be very careful when we make these accusations or we report on these accusations made against people, because that's all a lot of times that's all they are. Sometimes they're in fact, that they are real and they need to be dealt with. But more and more, ever since this Me Too organization came out a few years ago, we're seeing people come out of the woodworks and make accusations that were just turned out out to be not true. And as it turns out in Christian's case, it has turned out to be not true. But what would happen right after they determine it's not true? Well, somebody all of a sudden finds a trove of texts purportedly between Christian and this person. You know, you can generate these texts in about 5 minutes with AI these days. So, folks, I really implore people, unless you absolutely have first-hand knowledge of stuff, you need to say nothing. Say nothing, because it's not good if it was a woman that made the accusations and it turns out to be not true. Like the poor doctor that I talked about in New York, lost his job, everything, and it turned out the accusations were false. Why people make these false accusations, I don't know. It doesn't help the people making the accusation when they make false accusations. In fact, in the long term, it hurts. It hurts because people in time will just not believe the ones that are true. So we need to really, unless we have absolute first-hand knowledge of something, we need to keep our mouths shut. And I am happy to say that yesterday I watched a podcast, and this podcaster did say that he had seen the email that these texts went out on, but because he was unable to verify whether they were true or false, he was not going to make any comment or put them out there purportedly to be as true. So anyway, we're coming up. Of course, the big news is, as we've already talked about, Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari, and of course, lots of things around who should be the guy to take up Lewis Hamilton's place in 2025. The guy that I'm surprised nobody's talked about, who did an amazing job for Red Bull AlphaTauri last season, was Liam Lawson from New Zealand. That guy proved that he is just as good as Daniel Ricciardo, because he consistently was up there in the middle of the field. In fact, his very first race, he went up there and he got 9th, scored points for the team. So certainly, I'm surprised that Liam Lawson, who is now, by the way, Red Bull's reserve driver, he has, in essence, took the place of Daniel Ricciardo when he took over for Nick de Vries. So it's going to be an exciting day here for Bahrain. The weather is beautiful. It's a little windy, so we're going to see some maybe a little wiggling of the rear of the cars. We may even see some spins. But it's going to be, I think, a really nice and exciting day. And we will get to it in just a few moments. And I hope folks out there joining me this morning for our first live stream of the 2024 Formula One circuit races. I think looking at the qualifying sessions, so yesterday, looking at all the different cars, we saw really the beginning of the end of the 2023 season, the top 4 cars being Verstappen, Ferrari, and Mercedes. And the interesting thing, of course, the Mercedes is not Lewis Hamilton, who qualified, I believe, in 9th, if my memory serves me properly, and it doesn't quite do that these days. Getting to be in my early 70s, but I actually remember more about the 60s races than I do what happened yesterday. Wait a minute, that's a bad sign. Anyway, the track, it's going to be 57 laps. It's 3.36 miles. Top speed's about 203 miles an hour. There's 15 turns, and there are 16 meters difference in elevation. A very nice track, quite fast. In qualifying, we saw the top qualifying speed from Verstappen at 129.1, and most others were in that low 130s. So actually, that's not true. The top 5 or 6 were in the 129s, and I think at the bottom end, of the race, which strangely enough, and we're going the starting grid now, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon all the way on the back, Logan Sargent and Joe Granu in 18th and 17th, and then Valtteri Bottas and Kevin Magnussen 16th and 15th. So nothing really changing. Danny Ricciardo and his teammate 14th and 13th. I'm sorry, not his teammate. Alex Albon was 13th. And Yuki Tsunoda is 11th with Lance Stroll 12th. Lance Stroll had a good qualifying session yesterday. 10th is Hulkenberg, and as I memory will serve me right, 9th is Lewis Hamilton. Nice surprise for McLaren, 8th and 7th respectively, both of them well into the top 10. And then we have Alonso and Sergio Perez, 6th and 5th respectively. And then the top two rows, you got Carlos Sainz and George Russell, 4th, and George, of course, as I mentioned, in 3rd place. And, of course, the starting grid in pole position, Max Verstappen, followed by Charles Leclerc. Now, if that doesn't remind you of the back end of last year, I don't know what does, with the exception of the Alpine cars all the way in the back. Remember, yes, mid-season last year, Alpine changed their team principal, and he was going to change things and make things all great. And certainly it looked like towards the end of the season that was happening. They kind of, made their way up the middle of the pack. And of course, for you guys who have not heard yet, which would be surprising, and that is Gunther Steiner has a new role in Formula One. He is actually broadcasting for German TV. Of course, he was replaced. Well, he wasn't. Yeah, he was replaced. His contract was not renewed, and the new team principal is a guy from Japan. And actually, those Haas cars are looking a little better than they were at the back end of the season. Hulkenberg, as you noticed, qualified in P10, and Magnussen in P14. So a little better than the end of last year. So what I think really what's happened, Williams doing quite nicely to start off the year. I expect to see good things from Williams this year. I also expect to see the real battles, I think, are going to be between Ferrari, Williams, and McLaren. I think Mercedes does not have the car that they hoped for, and they certainly don't have a driver that was in his prime. And we are getting ready to go for the formation lap here, but we don't have in Lewis Hamilton the racer that ended the 2021 year season, or maybe we do, because there was excuse me, I do have bad allergies again this morning. So I'm going to drink coffee for those of you watching the podcast live, and also if you're watching the podcast, which will be put up tonight, available for Sunday. I think that, and if Lewis sat in that car for about, 5-10 minutes at the end of that race when he got beaten out for his 8th World Championship by Max Verstappen. And folks, lots of people blame Michael. I can't remember Michael's last name. The course steward, or the guy that makes all the decisions for the Formula One race. Michael, anyway, it doesn't matter. His first name was Michael. But at the end of the day, I really think the people that were really to blame for Lewis not making that race, that championship that year, were his team. We talk often about who is more responsible for the car winning, and different people that I've talked to have different opinions of that. As I've often said, Fangio said back in the 60s it was 60-40. I asked some of the drivers in 2022 what they thought, and some of them were quite honest and said, we're about 10%. And I would agree with that. The drivers are about 10%. The team is the rest. And we saw that with Lewis Hamilton getting beaten out for his 8th World Championship, because it was the team that actually won it that year. The team strategist for Red Bull pulled in as soon as she saw that caution. She pulled in Max Verstappen for new tires. Mercedes should have done exactly the same thing. But one, they didn't expect the decisions to come down the way that they did. But a strategist has got to take all of those things into consideration, and they just didn't get this. They didn't get the good decisions out of the strategist as we watch on TV and watching the brilliance of Adrian Newey. And as I mentioned, we did a podcast just on Adrian Newey's book. Guys, if you are any type of an engineer or any type of a real Formula One fan, you really need to get his book. Some interesting personal thoughts. Especially for those of you that don't know, he was the designer or team, actually the main guy for the car that Ayrton Senna died in. And that was another interesting thing on my Jackie Stewart interview. The interesting thing was the things that the drivers that never even came up as a possibility are as the greatest ever. But Jackie did put Ayrton Senna in there. And if you go out onto YouTube and just just search for the Jackie Stewart Ayrton Senna interview. Jackie Stewart interviewed Ayrton Senna as we get ready here for the start of the 2024 season. The last of the cars coming in from the formation lap. But anyway, watch that interview. There was no love lost between Senna and Jackie Stewart. It was obvious. And the lights are 4, 5. And ladies and gentlemen, we have got the beginning of the 2024 season, and Verstappen is off to an incredible start. He's way ahead of Leclerc, and Leclerc is trying to go around the outside. Of course, it will not happen. Verstappen does have the right position on him, and we already have a yellow flag back to green. And the reason we had a yellow was we had a bunch of people at the back end of the track that spun off into the safety areas. But all is well again, and we are back on to live racing. And gotta say, it's an exciting time. I'm just really happy to see it again. And we're seeing that Verstappen has already opened up probably a half to 3/4 of a second lead, and we have another yellow flag. Hulkenberg, I have got front wing damage. Not good for Haas to start off with a new team principal. But Verstappen's already right at nine tenths of a second on Charles Leclerc. Sorry, I was looking at the leaderboard, and not many changed positions other than Perez has got past Carlos Sainz to take over that 4th position here on the first lap, and Norris and at the bottom end, Alonso, Norris, Piastri and Hamilton and Tsunoda are all in where they should be, and then followed by Alex Albon, Magnussen, and Joe Granu. So everything else is just the way that it started. I take that back, because Hulkenberg has dropped all the way back to 20th because he was the one that decided that he didn't like the track and wanted to give his wheels a rest on the soft gravel. Not a good strategy for a race, but of course, I'm being facetious. Let's see. Perez is up 1. Tsunoda, Albon, Magnussen, and Joe Granu all up 1. Logan Sargent is up 1. Danny Ricciardo has just dropped back behind Logan Sargent as we see the car of Nico Hulkenberg getting a new nose piece. So obviously some damage there to Hulkenberg's nose piece as he's had to come in and have that replaced, which probably means, and probably why there was a problem, he ran out, and we'll get a replay here in a few minutes, but he ran into the back of another car. That's the only way the nose piece gets damaged. That's not true, of course. Sometimes a car will cut in front and damage the nose piece that way. But we'll get a replay here in just a moment as we see Max Verstappen has already opened up a 1.5 second lead. George Russell is 2.3 seconds behind. Perez right at 3 seconds. So what are we seeing, folks? We're seeing really a repeat of 2023, the utter domination of that Red Bull car. And, they were talking about that they weren't going to make a lot of changes to this car over the course of the off season, but of course that's turned out not to be true. As we watch one of the McLarens of it is Lando Norris just go past Alonso. Now, as we watch the Ferrari the Mercedes of George Russell go past Leclerc. So that Mercedes does have a little bit of umph in it. At least Russell's getting some umph out of that Mercedes. Hamilton is all the way back. He's a full second and a half behind Oscar Piastri. So, and we're watching now Perez come up on Leclerc. Verstappen already has the fastest lap. Anyway, back to the design of the car. Apparently, and reading the pieces over the off season, they did make a lot of very small changes to that Red Bull car of Max Verstappen. They've got to maintain their advantage over the field, and they're doing a very good job of it. Max Verstappen now is 1.9 seconds ahead of George Russell, so he continues to put distance between himself. And of course, now they're bringing in DRS at the end of the second lap now. So we should see some of the cars now pulling in the DRS. And as we look further down the field, we're going to have a DRS train from positions all the way from about 11th, 12th, 10th, all the way back to 19th. So it's going to be a rough day for those cars in the back. We are seeing some changing of positions midway through the field. Oscar Piastri has dropped back one. Lando Norris is up one. So, no, actually, Piastri started in 8th, so he's still in 8th ahead of Hamilton. We're just watching now. Perez has just taken the position back from George Russell that they lost during the tire change. So these Red Bull cars have a lot more in them than the rest of the field. There's no doubt about that. You've got Red Bull's number 2 driver, Sergio Perez, moving past, getting past these guys almost like they're standing still. As we watched George Russell trying to block Perez there, but it just didn't work. And in fact, George made a little boo-boo right there. He thought Perez was closer to him than he was, but it's obvious that these Red Bull cars have everything in them that they had last year and more. And so we're probably going to see, unless some dramatic thing happens, we're going to see another year of domination by Red Bull. So obviously great work in the off season because you can see a lot of these cars have improved. The times that they're getting on these laps are different. Now the reason that and I just lost the thought there for a second. The reason we're seeing a lot of tire changes early. For those of you that don't know, or maybe you do know, there's a lot of sand in the Middle East, right? But it's not very good sand for building, and it's not very good. The type of materials are not very good for roadworks and stuff. So when you look at the surface, it's not like the surfaces that you see here in the States or even in Europe. They're very different, and it's because of the materials that they have to use to build these. To build this infrastructure. In fact, a lot of the buildings in the Middle East are built with sand that is actually imported from the United States. The United States is a big exporter of sand to the Middle East. And of course, I found all this stuff out when I was in a previous life. I was in the refining and petrochemical world, and of course, spent a lot of time in the Middle East at the refineries and gas plants out there. So, but very interesting stuff that you really wouldn't think about. The sand in the Middle East is too porous to build buildings out of. They can't get it to bind together. So just interesting little tidbits, sorry. So anyway, right now we've got Verstappen leading. Well, Alonso's just come into the pit, so but he is leading. Now it's going to be Perez by about 31 seconds. It's so he's going to come in. And this is just another brilliant piece of strategy from the little girl. That's rather disrespectful, but I'm old, so. But anyway, the young female engineer for Red Bull, Hannah Schmidt. She has one incredible brain, just amazing. And we're watching her brain at work right now. While they've all gone through this, Verstappen has built up a 31-second lead to second place. Now remember, there's probably 19 seconds of that, maybe 20. That's due to pit stop, but still, Verstappen on his second place, he's got a 9-10 second lead. He's going to come in for tires here in just a moment as we watch the Ferraris battling it out against each other, as Leclerc has taken back that fourth position from Carlos Sainz. We're going to see those guys battling it out all day. We've got Norris and Piastri moved up one place, and Lewis Hamilton is now 3.8 seconds behind Piastri, but he has moved up from ninth to eighth, and I'm going to. I see why. That's because Alonso, of course, stopped for tires, and in fact, Alonso's got DRS on him, so he's going to be back in ninth place here pretty quickly. So I'm sorry, I got the TV turned up, and that's going to drive Andre Kuhn, our producer and all things technical guy, crazy, because he's going to try and get rid of that noise. And now they're bringing in Verstappen for his tire change at lap 17, which is about what you'd expect on these soft tires on this surface. I think the others changed a little early, but I'm I'm an engineer, but I'm just sitting here trying to do a podcast and coming up with that false impression that I might be a little smarter than the guys running these teams, which obviously I'm not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I'd be there, wouldn't I? Anyway, as we watch the Ferraris again, Carlos Sainz just taking that position back from Charles Leclerc, as we watch Verstappen come in, and let's see how we go here. 1, 2, 3. Not very good. 2.9 seconds. That's about half a second too much. But of course, he's got, how many second lead. It doesn't really matter as he comes back out onto the track. You're going to see the cars is the second place car of Leclerc. Let's see, my car, Leclerc, something wrong with it like this, cannot fight, it's dangerous. So something wrong with Leclerc's car, and Verstappen has a 6-second lead on the second place car, which is his teammate, who has a 2.3 second lead on the Mercedes of George Russell. So not a lot of changing as we watch now. The Ferrari of Carlos Sainz has just put George Russell back into fourth place. What's going on at the back end of the field, or the middle seat? So we're still seeing Alonso now, it's showing Alonso 5 seconds behind Hamilton. But I don't believe that Hamilton has stopped for a tire change yet. And because I don't know, I missed some of the tire changes while I was getting my second cup of coffee to help with my allergies. So I didn't see all of the tire changes. That's good. That helps. That helps the sore throat that I get with the allergies. It's not really sore. It's just annoyingly sensitive. So Lance Stroll has done a really nice job. He's now up into 11th position. In fact, he is only 2 positions behind his teammate Alonso. As we watch here a replay of Charles Leclerc struggling to keep his car on the track. And they're already, what is going on here? They're already getting vote for the overtake award. We're only 1/4, not even 1/4. And I see why they were really showing the replay of Leclerc. He's locking up all his wheels. So now he's got flat spots all over the place. He ends up going wide. So that car is going to be ridiculous to drive. Because literally they do get flat spots on these tires, and so you can, when you're driving them, you can really feel that. It's like, if you've ever, and you don't see it as much today as we did 40, 50 years ago, but sometimes you'd be going down the freeway and you'd see the wheels bouncing up and down because the shock absorbers were bad. Well, that used to cause flat spots on the tire as well, because the tire was getting worn unevenly. So when you went and got the shock absorbers replaced, you had to replace the tires, because the ride was so rough from all the flat spots. Literally, it's like trying to drive the car, not a square wheel, but imagine a wheel where you've got all of these flat edges. So the same thing for these Formula One cars, when they have these flat spots on the tires, they really do affect the way the car feels to the drivers. It's quite rough. And remember, the suspensions that these cars have are nothing like the suspension that you have in your car. Your suspension that you have in your car is designed really to keep the car on the road and give you an absolutely perfectly smooth ride. The suspensions on these cars, and these Formula One cars, are designed to keep the cars on the track. They don't care about how smooth the ride is for the driver, and it's a pretty rough drive. If you've ever driven some of these high-performance cars, the last one, well, not only the last, my wife drives a little Audi A5, and that is not a comfortable car to take a long drive in. It's got a fairly hard suspension on it. I have a Toyota 4Runner, which even for an off-road vehicle has got a nice smooth ride on the highway for me. So as you get older, that's what you want, right? Smooth rides. Let's see, Danny Ricciardo. What's happening with Danny? They're going to showing him a replay, and Danny lost it going into a corner and went straight on, but he saved it. So and he didn't lock up the wheels, so the car just got pushed wide on him, and so that will count as one of the marks against him for his exceeding track limits. So we haven't seen anything more on George Russell exceeding track limits. We saw earlier that warning as we're well into, over a third of the race finished here. It's getting to be maybe more time for more warnings as we get to who is JK. I don't know. Anyway, somebody thinks he's famous. He's a Grammy Award winner or something. I don't know. It's interesting when you watch these races. All of these, the people they think are famous, and we've never heard of them. Well, we shouldn't say that, right? Because we just say, I've never heard of him. And that might be because I'm not a big, I like music, I do listen to music, but I'm not a big TV watcher other than really sports, Formula One and tennis. And of course, I do watch American football sometimes, of course, not the Super Bowl, the World Cups when they come around. But for the most part, I'm a tennis and Formula One watcher. And tennis I've been watching a long, long time. Formula One over the years kind of faded in and out. Always kept up with it. Always kept up with actually watching it. Is faded in and out, in and out. And of course, since I started the podcast, which is it actually makes it a lot more interesting, because now I'm really thinking more about what's going on in the race, so I can tell you folks about it. As we watch, somebody's getting ready. It is Haas Hulkenberg coming in for a tire change, and very nice pit stop for that 2.7. It seemed faster than that. They did make a slight suspension adjustment. So where is Hulkenberg? So he's all the way back in 19th, and we see Logan Sargent in 20th. I don't know what happened to Logan, that he's all the way down there. We're getting another replay on Danny Ricciardo as he moves past one of the Alpines. I don't know which one that, Esteban Ocon. He moves past Esteban Ocon to take over that position. So Alpine's really still struggling. Where are we? Ocon's in 16th and Gasly's in 18th. So, yeah. Let's see what they're going to do with that team principal position now. You know, they got rid of I can't even pronounce his name, but he'd been in Formula One for a long time, and actually I don't disagree with removing him, and I don't disagree with Gene Haas moving on from Gunther, because after 10 years you should be doing something better than last place, and Gunther had been there for 10 years, and so the same thing was happening at Alpine, and they replaced the team principal at Alpine with this guy who was some kind of special consultant, and quite frankly, I don't think that he, quote unquote, has the personality to lead that team. When you saw him have a team meeting, you didn't get the sense from all of the people at the team meeting that this was something that they were really excited about. And a lot of people blamed both Gasly and Ocon because I think last year twice they took each other out, 2 DNFs, and it was the drivers taking themselves out. It wasn't anything else. So we got Perez. You are super quiet, mate. Speak louder. Shout. You need to shout. Oh. So let's see. We are halfway through. Let's say, yeah, we are halfway through this race. As we watch Lewis Hamilton, why are we going to see a replay of Lewis? Let's see. The reason being is Lewis lost his car. He doesn't lock up the wheels, but the car just doesn't turn for him. He just ends up obviously way over track limits, but he ends up in the runoff there. And as we watch Max Verstappen, like I say, putting a lap. So remember, that's not just on his second place guy. That's on the entire field. As we watch Lance Stroll come in and get a new set of tires and out. Very nice pit stop there. 2.8 seconds. It seems faster. I don't know. When Verstappen came in, you could tell it was a little slow. It was 2.9 seconds. These guys are 2.8, so it needs to be around 2.2 to really make things work. So he's back into 18th, just ahead of Pierre Gasly in 17th, and Gasly's teammate is in. Where is Ocon? Right there in 15th. So yeah, Gasly and Ocon really have the car of Valtteri Bottas between them. Tire life is longer than expected. That's good news for Leclerc. So yeah, and the other one, of course, who was meant to really bring some oomph is Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly at one time was the number 2 driver at Red Bull, and it lasted about 2 to 3 months. And then they brought in Alex Albon, which lasted till the end of the year. And then Alex Albon was without a ride for a year, and then he got picked up by Williams, and it's given both of them life. Alex has turned into a really good driver as we watch Joe Granu come in to the pits. I don't know if we're going to start to see a bunch of tire changes here, or if seems a little out of turn. The tires don't look that bad. So obviously, though, they feel that obviously they're just going to bring him in for any old reason as he drops back to 17th. A very, very respectable 2.7 seconds for the tire change there. So very, very nice stuff going on. So I think probably what we're going to see here, because the field really has settled down to Verstappen and Perez in first and second. And as we look at the age of the tires, I was going to see where Hamilton was, and then they took it away from me. Perez has got a 2.5 second lead on Sainz, who's got a very comfortable 8-second lead on Russell. Leclerc is slowly catching Russell, and then the two McLarens are behind that. So, and Hamilton is not making any headway, and for whatever reason, Alonso, who started in fourth, I believe, fifth, he's dropped back to ninth, right behind Hamilton, and has just not picked up any sort of gain on Hamilton. In fact, he's 11 seconds behind Hamilton now. Hamilton's made up about half a second on Piastri, but I don't think Piastri's got anything really to worry about. I think that car doesn't have, and the car doesn't have it, and the driver doesn't have it. And maybe the early signs of Mercedes really doing something with George Russell at one time in second place was maybe kind of a false alarm, as we see the tire guys with Ferrari getting ready to come out with a new set of tires for Carlos Sainz, as the camera show, pit window 33 to 43 for the hard tires. So that would be Lewis Hamilton, as we watch him go around. So what's happening today, folks, on the TV, usually when the race is kind of watching cars go around in circles, which it's been for the last probably 15 laps, is they go to replays. But there's not been even any replays to go to. We had the incident at the very beginning, and then we've seen a couple of runoffs. But this race has been so from a driver's perspective, I think, they're happy that they're not spinning off and they're not doing these things. But at the same time, are they not spinning off because they're not pushing it, they're not trying really hard? Or do they know they're getting the maximum out of themselves and out of their cars? Certainly, I think if Formula One are really honest, they're worried right now about the season. You're quote unquote not going to lose the spectators. That's guys going to the races. You're not going to lose that because it's a happening. It's an experience. It's just wonderful. And I can remember as a kid going to the races, and it's very different back then. You could walk anywhere. You could walk across the track. You could do all kinds of stuff that you can't do today. And it wasn't really quote unquote an experience. You really just had to be a Formula One fan. Today, I think that it's an experience, and the people that go aren't watching TV that much. I think that the guys that are, as we watch, something's up with Valtteri Bottas's car. They couldn't get the left front wheel off. Looks like it's really hot. This is a long pit stop. As what are we waiting for here? Oh, they've got a stripped wheel nut as well. So now they don't have the right wheel nut. The brakes are nearly on fire as we watch. Who is this? George Russell come in. That was a beautiful pit stop. Got him in and out very quickly. Valtteri Bottas is still sitting there waiting for a wheel nut. He's been in the pits now for 52 seconds as we see him finally come out behind George Russell, but that's going to put him comfortably. And Logan Sargent is going to be really happy to see this, but it's going to, well, maybe it's not. Logan Sargent is 1 minute and 42 seconds. 1 minute and 42 seconds. He's a lap and a bit down. We're doing the lap at about probably 1:35. So it's not looking good for Valtteri. It's looking really bad for Logan Sargent, who now finds himself, though, just 7 seconds behind. So we're going to see a replay here of what happened as we watch this left front wheel up. It comes off. They put it on. Oh, they're trying to put it on. It's stripped off. Then now they're trying to use their hands to get it off. And now they need a jack. They got to jack the car back up. So, yeah. Not what they wanted. But let's see. The race is going exactly the way Red Bull wanted it. Again, you've got to give this success, to the overall team. There's no doubt about it. But you've got to really, when Adrian Newey retires, and let's see, he's I think 62 or 63, maybe 64. So let's say he can maintain the interest for another 10 years. Which would be surprising. At some point, that brain's just got to get burnt out. But you never know. I mean, he's been designing winning cars now for 40 years. Since he was 21, 22, right out of college. As we get a picture of Hannah Schmidt and then Verstappen's race engineer. And I can't, I can't say enough. I've been trying to get an interview with Hannah Schmidt. So they're very, very, and I don't want to talk to Hannah Schmidt about, the difference, how to go. But I'd want to talk to her because I think it's good for women who want to get involved in this sport. And Bernie Collins, I'm trying to get an interview with Bernie Collins. For those of you that don't remember, Bernie Collins was the strategist for Perez at McLaren. So I'm trying to get an interview with her as well. But she's not coming to COTA this year. I've seen the races she's doing. So anyway, maybe we'll get lucky. But anyway, I want to get those young ladies on the show so that they can really, let other young women know that Formula One used to be an all-male sport, but it is not anymore. And if you're a good female engineer, there is a place for you in Formula One. So, which we never saw years ago. So I think that's a good thing. As we watch, is that Hamilton putting a move? No, George Russell putting a move on Alonso. Now Hamilton's in the pits. Along with who was Lance? No, with Norris or Piastri? Norris. So Hamilton is back down into 9th. Alonso is up to 7th. And Alonso has a DRS on George Russell. Battle for 7th. Alonso and Norris. Okay, not really. Because Norris is 5 seconds behind. So I don't know where they're coming up with that. Certainly, Alonso, Russell's starting to pull away from him a little bit. But Piastri has moved up to 5th. So interesting things going on. With 35 now, Verstappen has got a comfortable 17-second lead. Which is, 17 seconds at... It's an average of 150 miles an hour is a long way. It's nearly half. I would 17. So no, it's not half. It's probably at least quarter of a lap as we watch somebody coming into pit lane. Who is it? I think it's Carlos Sainz. No, it's Oscar Piastri. No, but that's a Ferrari. So that's it was Charles Leclerc for Ferrari and Piastri for McLaren and in and out. So that's going to put Piastri and those guys back a little bit. Alonso moves up to 5th. Of course, as the tire changes go on, all of these positions are going to change, with the exception of position 1. Actually in position 2, because Perez now has he's only got a 3-second lead. As we watch Piastri, trying to take Russell away, but he lost his rear end. But I think it will be it won't be long before Piastri finds that position back again. It cost him about half a second, that little mishap right there, as Hamilton moves up to 8th. Piastri is 2 seconds behind. So let's see, where is George Russell is back up in 4th, 30 seconds behind Verstappen. 30 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. So that's because he stopped for tires and they didn't. As we watch now, I believe it's going to be Carlos Sainz come in for tires. And we've got right at 20 laps to go. So let's see. Stop, off, on, go. Yep, very nice. Yep, 2.2 seconds. That's a pit stop, folks. That is a really nice pit stop. 2.2 seconds is what you would expect to see. So I'm sure as the year goes on, these guys, like everybody else, obviously they've been training during the off season. And what's interesting is that you think these guys are just, or these guys changing tires. Their bodies are in shape like athletes. They got to be. Because they've got to be absolutely toned. And the thing I forgot to mention, talking about women in Formula One. The Red Bull team, I believe it's Perez's team. No, I think it's Verstappen's team has a female mechanic, which is great to see. Not just that they would be sitting on the sidelines calculating stuff and using their brain, but also using their physical skills as well as their brain. So that's really good to see that going on as we're watching. Ricciardo pit lane, he was in 2.8 seconds. So Hülkenberg and Magnussen are now back in 13th and 14th. The top 4 positions have changed only in that Leclerc is in 5th and Carlos Sainz is in 3rd as we watch Lando Norris put Alonso back in 7th. And let's see, Checo Perez has just come into the pit for tires, and he's going to be back out again. So I think we're looking at Carlos Sainz because I believe, we're just seeing where he comes out in relationship to Perez, and Perez has very nicely stayed ahead by 2 seconds. Let's see, Leclerc now has the fastest lap. That no longer belongs to Verstappen. Verstappen now has a 41-second lead over Perez. Of course, 20 seconds of that is in the pits. So let's see. Interesting. Perez went on to soft tires with 20 laps to go. Ricciardo went to soft tires as well. Let's see. 20 laps. Those soft tires are good. Really good for 15. 20. That's going to be really interesting. Alex Albon's on pit lane. Where is Alex? He was in 12th. That's going to move him back to 15th. But as the tires rotate through, then we'll see all that change as we see Max Verstappen in the pit, in and out, and away he goes. And he should still come out with about an 18-second lead. Let's see, 2.2 for Verstappen, 2.8 for Albon on that pit change. As we watch Verstappen come out, folks, he comes back out onto the track all alone. There is nobody in that you can see. He's got that big a lead. The entire back straight, or front straight actually, where all the pit lanes are, there's no cars on that part of the track when he comes back out onto the track. And now that's not right. It can't be right. 38 seconds can't be right. So as we watch one of the McLarens putting the Alonso down. So I believe this is Lando Norris in the pit. Oscar Piastri, so I was wrong. Piastri's in the pit. Is that his 3rd pit stop? Anyway, the McLaren's having a good day for McLaren. They're not losing, they're not gaining, they're just maintaining their positions as the McLaren comes out ahead of the Mercedes, but ultimately will lose that because he didn't have any momentum, but he will take that position back as we watch Danny Ricciardo pass. I can't see the car that he is passing, but Ricciardo, who like I said earlier, Ricciardo's got to do more. Let's see where he is. He's all the way back in 15th. So he was passing actually Alex Albon in the Williams car. So those Williams are dropping way off today. Not what we expected to see with Williams, not what we expected to see with Alpine. We've got Joe Granu up in 11th, and Valtteri Bottas, of course, he's going to finish in 19th because of that problem with his wheel. Now, there's nothing he can do about that. As they say, shit happens. Certainly, that happened to Valtteri Bottas. As we're on board with, who are we on board with? We're on board with George Russell. Excuse me, allergies are really coming into play here now. So George Russell is, it's showing him behind Sainz, but that's not Sainz ahead of him. It is, who was that? Oh, it was Hamilton. Oh, Hamilton putting a move on Alonso. Is what that was, not George Russell. And so Hamilton finds himself in 7th position for, I would say, just a little while, as Piastri will take that position away from him after he gets past Alonso, which should be about 2 or 3 laps from now. So yeah, a decent day for McLaren. I think they can be happy. I think that the Aston Martin of Alonso and Stroll. Where is Stroll? Stroll is he's one position. They're in 8th and 10th, so they're scoring points. But based on qualifying and stuff like that, as we watch that Verstappen now is just taking the fastest lap to add insult to injury for the rest of the field. That I think the Mercedes should have been doing better than they are today, but certainly the gaps between the next place between Ferrari, Mercedes, and Aston Martin and McLaren, they're not that great. They're within on a lap basis, they're within a 1/10 of each other. So I think that over the next few races, we'll see really a jockeying for that 2nd, 3rd, 4th place as we watch now Piastri putting a move on Alonso and has passed him. So now he's just got to get up there, catch Hamilton and put Hamilton back into 8th position. As we're watching this little battle go on between Leclerc and George Russell. And that is the only battle going on right now. And Leclerc just doesn't seem to get enough out of that Ferrari. Now he's got on the straightaway, coming down the front stretch, but he can't get close enough. Whoa, he just about ran into the back of him. He can't get close enough when he doesn't have DRS for the DRS to make that big of a difference for him. So as you watch, Leclerc's got a little better grip Russell's got a little better grip, but coming out the corners. Now Leclerc he's up there at half a second, so that should be enough. If he can maintain that for the next time he has DRS, that should be enough for him to get in there and get past Russell. So they're gonna stay with this because this is the only exciting thing going on in this Grand Prix this year. Well, the other exciting thing is it looks like Verstappen is Russell just locked up, gone way off the track. So that is going to be the end of George Russell in that 4th place. That really was just driver error. And so Leclerc now is up into 4th. So very good move for the Ferraris, and just proving that Ferrari this year, anyway, at the start, is a better team than Mercedes. So Ferrari now are comfortable in that 2nd place for the. Let's see what it's. Yeah, George Russell, as this show the replay, just went into that corner too hot. And couldn't keep his car under control and locked up the right front wheel, and not bad enough to flat spot it, but enough to throw up some smoke. And so that's just driver error. George Russell this year, if he wants to be the number one driver for Mercedes next year, he has got to make sure that he doesn't commit silly mistakes like that. And it's easy for us to say silly mistake, right? Sitting here in a little room with a camera pointed at us, broadcasting out to the world. And these guys are sitting in a car doing about 203 miles an hour when he was coming up to that corner too fast. Michael Schumacher years ago developed a technique that all the drivers use now, and that is they tend not to hit the brakes consistently hard. They move the brake pedal up and down so that the brake pressure is going on and off, on and off, on and off, and that helps. One, it's kind of like the anti-braking system that you have on your car. It stops the wheels from actually locking up, but it also helps keep the brake pads and the brake discs cool. So those are nice things that they have. Of course, they don't have anti-lock braking systems on these cars because it adds way too much weight. So they rely on the drivers to do that. As we're watching for the Aston Martin. So where Aston Martin right now are in, and I think Alonso is about to take, he's about to take ninth place away from his teammate. So really, what we've watched, the most exciting part, other than Russell and Ferrari, is the two teams, Ferrari and Aston Martin, fighting each other for position. And of course, all the way back, let's see, where's Ricciardo now? Ricciardo is up at 1.7 seconds behind his teammate. So he is gaining, and he's got a full 11 laps to do it. So I think that the way now he's 1.6, the way Ricciardo's driving, we may see him we may see those two teammates racing as we watch the two Aston Martins racing each other down the straightaway. Of course, Alonso, who is a far superior braker, a guy on the brakes, in fact, right there with Stroll, he's going to get past him here on this coming up lap because he knows how to use those brakes much better than Stroll. We got to give Stroll credit, guys. He's getting through a whole race without being on the news, which is good news for Lance Stroll because he's on the news. He was on the news at the beginning. Give him credit because he actually got turned sideways through no fault of his own at the beginning of the race, and now he finds himself up there in ninth. Alonso just got past him. He finds himself up there in ninth position, and it's going to be interesting. It's the only interesting thing going on in the track right now because Norris is not going to get past Russell. It did look there for a moment like he might, but he's not going to. And Lance Stroll and Alonso are in good position. Alonso's put 6 seconds on his teammate. Piastri, Hamilton, they're all safe. Everybody's safe. The other thing that I think, and Carlos Sainz has just sent a message to Ferrari, guys, you might have made the wrong choice in choosing Leclerc as your future driver because they're about the same age. I think Sainz might be a year or 2 years older, but certainly. All right, so can Danny Ricciardo get past him? He's got DRS. Can he do it? No, he can't. He's got and he's got to get just a hair closer. And Magnussen's lost DRS. So Ricciardo's got 0.3 of a second. He should be able to take him down here on the next DRS opportunity because he's within 0.2. He's 0.2 of a second down. He should be able to get that. Some nice driving from Magnussen though to hold him off. I don't know. He's got. And it seems like the Haas car has got a little better grip than the AlphaTauri car because he's able to pull away a little bit out of the corners. So it's going to be pole to first. for Max Verstappen, for full 22 seconds ahead of his teammate. The team's going to be very happy that his teammate's in second, but not going to be very happy that his teammate is 22 seconds back from him. And pretty much the same car. So they're going to be looking, I think, to make someone as Verstappen weaves around and signals that he has won this race. And so the only thing left to see is, will Ricciardo get past Magnussen? I'm going to say no, because if he was, he should have done it on that last DRS opportunity. And Magnussen's just opened another 2/10 on him. So that's it. As we watch, we're just now watching the second place car come across the finish line. And of course, a new thing, a public service announcement for the race against dementia. You can see, if you go to our website, you can see a little clip from Jackie Stewart. We broke the piece out specifically about the race against dementia, as Jackie's family, his wife Helen, has suffered from dementia for quite some time now. So we want you to help support Race Against Dementia. 1 in 3 families will have family members that suffer from dementia. My family is part of one of those 3 families. So please go to raceagainstdementia.com and give them your support. And of course, we can't end a Formula One podcast without saying thank you to our great producer, director, all things technical guru, Andre Kuhn. Thank you, Andre, for all the great work you do. And folks, we'll see you next week from Saudi Arabia. That's right, we'll see you next week from Saudi Arabia. This is Jonathan Steele with the Formula One News Hour saying have a great week and look forward to seeing you next week.